Welcome back to Lessons from the Front and a look at airstrikes in Warlord Games' Bolt Action version 3 rule set. My friend Alfred, who plays Americans, has been rather keen to unleash the power of his P47 Thunderbolt against my Germans. Before we look at how the rules work for airstrikes, allow me to briefly update you on how this battle played out. Our game took place on a standard 6x4 foot table, and we ran 1,250 point lists. My German list consisted of 3 platoons, an elite, hard-hitting veteran rifle platoon that also had a sniper and Panzerschreck team. I also had a heavy weapons platoon that consisted of a medium machine gun and a medium mortar, and an armored platoon with a Stug 3 and a Puma command vehicle. Alfred's Americans also had 3 platoons. His rifle platoon, although much larger than mine, only had 1 veteran ranger squad, a forward air observer, a bazooka, and a sniper team, with the bulk of his infantry being inexperienced GIs. His heavy weapon platoon had 2 medium mortars and a medium machine gun, whilst his armor platoon consisted of the Chaffee, the M16 quad 50 cal meat chopper, half track, and the M18 Hellcat tank destroyer. We rolled for the mission, and the dice would have us play key positions from the long table edges with prepared positions. With 3 of the objectives in Alfred's right half of the table, my plan for this battle was to screen against his left and then drive hard through the woods and hopefully capture the objective on the hill and the one just across the road from the row of buildings and ruins that would hopefully provide my center with cover as I advanced. I received the first order dice and assigned it to my observer, who successfully ranged in with a 6 for my medium mortar. That opening barrage, although it did not destroy Alfred's Hellcat, temporarily kept that tank hunter out of the game for a couple of turns as it had set it on fire. This was a great start for my Germans. So in order to screen against Alfred's left, I used my sniper and medium machine gun, housed in the second story and ground floor of a central building, along with my Puma to slow Alfred's advance, whilst my main focus was to push against the woods towards Alfred's right. However, noting the threat on his right, Alfred reinforced the hill with his veteran rangers, his bazooka, and medium machine gun. Alfred successfully positioned his squads that resulted in the American and German infantry exchanging fire from across either side of the central road. In the meanwhile, Alfred's forward air observer, along with the sniper, was situated right on top of the hill and had been looking for opportunities to call in airstrikes from above. His first strike targeted my 81mm mortar that had been placing Alfred's rear under a lot of pressure. Unfortunately for the Americans, the Thunderbolt was driven off by their own M16's quad 50 cal anti-aircraft fire. I guess the radio engine of the P47 must have been mistaken for that of a Focke-Wulf 190. Anyway, much to the delight of the Germans below, the first airstrike was driven off by friendly fire. With the Hellcat's crew having safely extinguished the fire started by the first rounds of German mortar fire in turn 1, Alfred now turned the attention of his Hellcat to my Stug, which had just arrived from reserve. Along with 2 6-man squads of veteran infantry transported in an Opel Maltier, I was going to use the Stug to support the right flank of my drive through the woods. But now, with the Hellcat back in action, a duel between my Stug and the Hellcat commenced. Neither of them able to land killer blows. It was in fact my Puma that had driven forward and delivered the knockout blow from the cover of the buildings in the center of the village. With the Hellcat knocked out, the Puma then traversed its 5cm gun and delivered another lethal blow to the M16, allowing my Panzerschreck team to rush forward and grab the central objective. My right flank and the 2 objectives in my half were looking a lot safer, although Alfred had not yet given up hope of capturing at least one of these objectives. He bravely pushed a squad of inexperienced GIs across the open fields towards one of the central buildings in the village. These GIs miraculously made it across the open ground under heavy fire from my MMG and sniper teams. Alfred brought on a chaffee also from reserve to support this drive to the center, and immediately had success against my Puma, its 75mm gun finding and penetrating the side armor of my SD KFZ 234. I did have the choice of wrecking away from the chaffee, but with much of the dice having gone my own way, I had carelessly ridden my luck too far. With his defense of the wooded hill looking good and effectively stalling my drive against the high ground, Alfred decided to bring in his second strike from the air against my infantry now massing across the road from the hill. However, in a cruel twist of fate, Alfred's P47, manned by a rookie pilot, flew in against their own troops and almost single-handedly mangled and annihilated the Rangers that had been blocking the Germans' advance from the woods. This unfortunate incident of friendly fire opened the way for my squads to close in for an assault against Alfred's weakened defenders. The Rangers, having been decimated from the air, stood little chance against the onrushing attackers. With the last of the Rangers eliminated in hand-to-hand combat, my infantry then swarmed up to the top of the hill, where they easily swept aside the squad of inexperienced GIs, the sniper and the forward observer team, who had been defending the objective on the hill. And with that, the game ended with 4 of the 5 objectives in German hands. Hey Alfred, your main intention in this game was to test run your Thunderbolt, right?
Yes, to test run airstrikes, basically,
airstrikes, right,
in the rulebook.
So today we're going to be talking about airstrikes as something that we've been learning about in today's game. So Alfred, how does this airstrike thing work?
Well, the airstrike thing actually works according to what you call under the section called forward air observers.
Forward air observers. Which page is that on?
Which is page 116.
Okay, page 116, guys, all right?
Yeah. And these air observer teams are actually considered infantry units. So, especially for the Americans, they can actually call in for 2 strikes. So
do other nations only get 1 airstrike?
Yes, all other nations get 1 airstrike.
Right.
Whereas the Americans get 2 airstrikes.
That's why you play Americans, right?
That's why you play Americans for.
All right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So you use your forward air observer, is it?
Yes.
To call in a strike.
Yes.
So
it's called a fire order. Actually, when you want to call in an airstrike, you call in a fire order. You give the air observer team a fire order.
Okay.
Followed by the fact that you place it on the unit, not on a point on the map or on the ground.
Oh, so you place it on the unit that you want to strike against?
Yes.
Okay.
And thereafter, it's even if the air observer unit is destroyed, the airstrike still comes in.
Oh, because the airstrike only comes in at the beginning of the next turn,
yes, right? Correct. So they will still come in whether the air observer is dead or not.
Right, okay.
So
then at the beginning of the next turn, how do you process that?
Then you roll the dice to see what happens.
Right.
Whether the aircraft appears.
Right.
Whether the aircraft shoots at your own people.
Right.
A friendly strike, or it goes for here it comes.
Okay.
Okay. So if you roll a 1, the aircraft will be crewed by a rookie player.
Okay.
And with that
as it happened in our game, right?
Then it happened in our game.
Yeah.
You get to move the original unit within 12 inches.
Right, so
you pick the unit.
The second time Alfred brought his aeroplane in,
the second strike.
He rolled a 1, so that I got to move to choose the target within 12 inches of his original target, right?
Yes.
And obviously, I moved it onto your Ranger team.
My Ranger team got wiped.
And his Ranger team got badly mauled.
Yeah.
Okay. So you roll to see whether it comes in or not, and then you see what type of So how does it work?
So whether it comes in or not.
Okay.
The moment it comes in,
Yeah.
you place the aircraft
Yeah.
at your point 18 inches away from your target.
Okay.
So whichever way that you want to place it, it's
Right.
18 inches away from the.
I got you.
18.
Okay. All right. And then what comes next?
Then you roll for resolving the flag. That means both sides.
Right.
Whatever flag units start to shoot.
Yes. And in our game, I didn't have any anti-aircraft guns, but you did.
Yes. And I shot my own aircraft. Yeah,
I like that
drove,
very much.
I drove away my
Drove
own
your
aircraft.
away. Okay.
Yes.
What was that weapon that you were using?
I was using the M16 GMC.
Right. So that's like a flak feeling almost for the Americans.
Flag wheeling for the Americans,
Yeah.
but
Nice.
the point that it is a heavy machine gun in a
Quads. So it's 8
quad
dice,
mounting.
right?
So it's actually 3 per heavy machine gun.
So, it
So
was
that's why it was 12.
That was
And 12. That was
12
why
dice.
he drove away my aircraft.
Yeah.
I
So
sh- I-
mounted on the back of a white half track, right?
Yes, mounted on the back of the M3.
You can see how those
half
things
track.
can drive off air attacks.
Yes, and that is why you should never deploy a meat chopper with your airstrikes.
Yeah. Well, Alfred, I can just say thank you very much for deploying a meat chopper on the table today. It really helped my cause a lot. So both of Alfred's airstrikes were ineffective for the Americans,
Yes,
right?
for the Americans. The
but-
first one was
Yeah.
driven away. The second
Yeah.
one,
But your
Myself.
first one, even though it was driven away, it did give me some pins, right?
yes, the continuing on the way to resolve the airstrike is that at the point of entry,
Yeah.
within 6 inches,
Right.
all units within 6 inches gets pinned.
Okay.
Then within the target area, you also get pinned. 6 inches.
Right. Okay.
And thereafter,
Yeah.
you roll what kind of attack aircraft it is.
Oh, what type of aircraft? Okay.
Yes.
What type of aircraft are actually available in bolt action?
Well, you have got 3 types.
Right.
The first type is actually a normal fighter,
Yeah.
strafing fighter.
Right.
The second one is actually a fighter bomber. In
Okay.
other words, it will drop 2 bombs to
Right.
it. And the third one is actually a ground attack aircraft, which means actually you may deploy rockets and all that.
Is that
So
the nasty one?
That's the nastier
I'm
one.
guessing you got to roll
Yeah.
higher for that one.
That
Okay.
one actually hits you like a heavy howitzer,
Ouch.
which means you got the biggest template
Right.
and the biggest damage,
Right.
biggest penetration. yeah.
Okay. Okay. So then you've tested to see which type of aircraft is coming in. It
Mm.
hasn't been driven off in this case. Let's say. You know what type of aircraft is coming in, and then what do you do?
And then you resolve the attack at your target unit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then why
And
were
within 6 inches.
right? And then so not only the attack point, the target area, but also other units within 6 inches of where the actual aircraft is.
They get pins.
They get pins as well because they're all trying to duck down
Yes,
from the aircraft as
yes.
they're coming in. They don't know who's going to get hit, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting, Alfred. I thoroughly enjoyed this game. Watching your aircraft getting driven off and shooting at your own guys. But also a very interesting game. Yeah, it was a good game. Did you
Yeah.
have a good time?
Yeah.
In spite of the aircraft not being very
Well,
cooperative?
it goes with the rolls. And it's the third time I'm seeing Eugene score ahead on the first dice roll. With
Oh,
a
guys,
mortar.
I'm so embarrassed
I've got to
about
put
that.
this into record.
Yeah, so this is the third game in a row where I rolled a 6 in my opening salvo using indirect
Mortar.
fire, and this time it was a mortar, and I rolled a 6 to range in. So 3 ranges in a row, 3 games in a row, where I rolled a 6 on my first order dice. So I am feeling a little bit sheepish about that. Anyway, Alfred, I hope you are willing to play me again sometime soon. All right.
We will do another Italian game.
Oh, I know this. All right, guys, until next time, happy gaming.